Hey friends, how you doing today? Hope you're well. My name is Marty Mikles, and I am going to share just a couple of tips for you for the guitar and the different levels. Just right off the bat, there are a few things as you're preparing for these pieces for the solo competition. There are a few things that you're going to want to keep in mind always, and this doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what level you're on. Okay, there are certain things that are always important to remember. The first one is tempo. You have a tempo marking at the top of your page, so get a metronome. If you need to download one on your phone or your iPad or whatever device you can use, there are free metronomes out there. It's always good to practice with a metronome. For level 1, for example, Holy Spirit, the metronome marking is quarter note equals 72. All right, and just to give you an idea of what that sounds like, I have a metronome ready to go. Okay, nice and steady, pretty easy, right? So that's just one. We'll hop into that in just a second specifically. But the other thing that you're always going to want to make sure you do is you pay attention to the chords and those chord diagrams that are written above the music, okay? The actual things that have the dots and the little tiny diagrams. Those are very, very, very important. And again, no matter what level you're on, those are going to help you know exactly how to play the chord, okay? One last little reminder before we jump into each piece here. The tablature is a really, really helpful tool. Now, or tab as is abbreviated. Tablature is what's underneath the actual music note on your music. And it has the numbers, so it has 6 lines, and each line represents a string on the guitar. And the number represents what fret you're going to play on that string. So for example, starting at measure 5 on Holy Spirit, you have on the and of 2, 1, 2. Right, just as an example, that's how that works, okay? So tempo is important. The chords, make sure you're playing the chords correctly, okay? As we get into the more advanced levels, there's going to be different types of chords, and we'll get to that in just a second. Okay, so starting with level 1, Holy Spirit, this is nice and easy. The tempo is real simple, okay? The piece starts with just these simple down strums, okay? And you see that with the arrows, okay, on the music. Okay, and so on. I won't play the whole thing. But that's most important when it comes to that. The arrows are the directions you're strumming, okay? When we get down to measure 13, we have a real simple rhythm that goes with the whole thing. And you're going to strum either with your thumb or your fingers, or if you have a guitar pick, you'll use that too, all right? And here's what that sounds like. Measure 13, and... I played the wrong chord there, which is important. I would get docked off of that. But yeah, for sure, that's how all of that works, all right? It's a lot of information on one page, but don't worry about it. Okay, we're going to breeze through the rest of these. Here's level 2. This is Amazing Grace. It starts with this real simple melody that, again, you see the tablature underneath. It tells you exactly which fret to play on which string. And it goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so that's real simple. I just want to check my tempo on that to make sure I'm doing it at the right speed. 98 is the metronome marking, so we're going to move our metronome up to 98. Almost there, and this is what it sounds like. All right, it sounds like I was doing a little fast. 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's the intro. That's really easy. And again, you have these down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up for what would be the verse. Okay, so this is the this is a measure 5 on This Is Amazing Grace. This is what it sounds like. example of that. Real easy. Again, this is a more difficult level, so when you get to the more extensive rhythms, like at measure 13, okay, just pay attention to those things. Really, really not as difficult as it looks. Okay, those arrows, I know it looks funny, but those are really going to be helpful because. And when you practice this, it helps if you do it a little slower, just to make sure you get the direction of the way you're strumming. It's going to be super helpful and not too complicated. All right. When we get to 27, you have it ends the same way that it started. So that's real simple. Okay. Build your kingdom here. Okay, this one's a little tricky because the rhythm looks scary. Okay, I remember looking at this the first time thinking, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? But this is really how it goes, okay? The song is in D, okay, but the first chord is in G. All right, let's get our tempo. This is important. 133. Here we go. All right, quick. Okay, now, a couple of things to think about. You have this simple rhythm at the beginning. Now, it doesn't look simple, but once you hear it, it's going to be real simple. So I'm going to say the rhythm out, and then we're going to play it on the guitar. So it goes like this. Da 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 da. All right, and then you also have this X, right? The second, I'm looking at the music here, the second 16th note that you see there, the very second one is a 16th, but it's not a note, it has an X, and it's noted just above that. That is a palm mute. So this is what that's going to sound like. Okay, it can be a little tricky at first, but it's not too difficult once you get it under your fingers. Okay, so here's how the whole introduction basically sounds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's getting there into measure 9. If you need to, I would recommend do this one slower and then work your way up to it. All right. Again, the rhythms are going to be real simple once you get them under your fingers, once you get them under your strumming hands particularly, okay? Like at measure 17, for example, I'm going to do a little slower here so you can see how I'm working this through, because this is where it starts to get really busy, okay? So I'm going to do a little slower. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the first chord you have is A, B minor 7, okay, G, and D. And all of those chord diagrams are above the music, all right? So make sure you pay attention to those. But it's a lot to remember, I know, but strumming is going to be the most important because this is probably what they're going to, obviously you play the right chords, that's good. But the characteristic of this piece is the rhythm from the strumming. So when it's more tempo, it's... That's how it works. That's the section at 17. Anyway, that's it for this one. Just pay attention, again, to the chords. Figure the rhythms out. Do them slower. And then you can work it up. Finally, level 4, Amen, because He lives. This one is all about the fingers of your right hand, okay? I'll try and get through this pretty quick. The first section, it can be really, really difficult. So my advice to you is take this slow, okay? Now, it's already pretty slow to begin with compared to the other one. We're going to go back to 84 is the metronome marking. Quarter note equals 84. This is what it sounds like. Here we go. If my metronome will cooperate. Okay, this is the published tempo. Okay, I would suggest if you're just starting this, work a little slower. Okay, but this is where it gets really, really, really tricky. You have to make sure that you play all of the notes in the right place, metrically, like with the rhythm, but also on the right string, the right time. Okay, so your tablature is really going to help you on this one. And if you're at level 4, you probably already know this already. But when you do this, those rhythms line up exactly under the music note. Okay, so if you know how to read the rhythms, the tablature is all just to help with the fingers on the frets. That's it. That's all. It looks complicated, but it really is not. Okay, so this is a published tempo. I'm going to do the beginning of this. All right. And that's the first 8 measures, and it's really, really, it's hard. I'm not gonna lie, it's hard to do. But to get to that point, let's slow it down. I'm gonna slow it down a whole 10 clicks. This is 74, okay? There we go. So all of that information is in there. The only information they're not telling you is what fingers you're actually going to use to pluck the strings in your right hand, or if you're left-handed, right? So here's what I'm doing, and you can see here. I'll try to zoom in here a little so you can see it, get closer. But what I'm doing is, and I'm going to do this slower. I'm going to turn my metronome off just so you can see. You have the notes E, A, E, right? And then you're plucking with your thumb the open A string. This is just the first chord. It's really just the first 2 beats. But nice and slow, this is what it sounds like. And then you have an F. That one's easy because it's all just the top 4 strings, the D, G, B, and E strings, right? The A minor is kind of tricky because I want to play it this way, but it's actually written E, A, E. Also, if it helps to break this apart a little bit, this will be helpful. Don't worry about the bass note that you're doing with your thumb. Okay, so the bass note A, F, C. Leave that one out and just do the other notes. So that's the nuts and bolts of the picking of the guitar. It's going to take a lot of getting used to, and that's fine. Spend some time practicing on it. Once you get to section 13, we're back to strumming. Now, notice that there's no arrows written here, okay? You're at level 4, you get to decide how to do this. And this is the easiest way, in my mind, is that when you start to do, this is the chorus of the song. You have this F, and it's a bar chord, which you'll notice if you look at the chord diagram above. Those 2 X's are not palm mutes, but you're actually muting them with your fretting hands, okay, like that. So you have F, all right, and that's so that you can transition to the next chord, right, because they happen pretty quick, all right. Anyway, the rest of this stuff is all things. They're things that you've worked on, no doubt, up to all of these things. You've done all these things in the previous levels. This ought to be a piece of cake for you. The rest of it is just counting, making sure you're playing the right chords. Okay, you have different types of Fs, for example. If you look at, I'll give you an example. Like at measure 13, you have a bar chord F. Okay, but if you look at where did I see it? So this is on the second page, measure 41, beat 3. You have C, right? You have for the first 2 beats. And on beat 3, you have an F, but it's not a bar chord F, it's this F, right? Where you're only playing those 4 strings, all right? So little things like that, pay attention to all those little details, and you're going to do just fine. Anyway, thanks for watching. I know this took a little bit longer than a couple of minutes, but all of these pieces will eventually be easy to play. And before you know it, you'll be able to play all this stuff. But the most important thing I can tell you is just have fun doing it and do it for the Lord. Do your best, and that's all that matters. So good luck, everyone. Have a great time in your solo competition, and we'll see you next time. Take care.